Welcome to the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast, the show where we discuss what it takes to create a sustainable long-term online business in today's fast-moving environment. We talk with industry experts and freelancers alike to find out what it takes to build and manage a location-independent business.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast. If this is your first time listening, this is a show where we have honest and transparent conversations around building and managing an online business, scaling your agency, freelancing and remote work. New episodes are available via your favorite podcast player through iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or you can sign up at digitalnomadcafe.com. In today's episode, I'm talking with Wiman. He's based in Sweden. He runs an agency, has a couple of authority websites. Robin, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, man. Nice to be here.
Yeah, look, let's be honest there. We had a bit of a mess up with the recording, so we're jumping back in for take two, but that was completely my fault. Look, these things happen. I often talk about it on Instagram stories because you only ever see the polished, perfect product of what people put out online. But sometimes, mistakes happen and these things can go a little bit astray. So I apologize to you. But for our listeners, so let's get cracking. So, Robin, you run an agency.
Yep.
And you also build authority sites. So we met through what's called authorityhacker.com's paid group, I guess. Like we both bought their course, Authority Hacker Pro, and that's where we met. I seen Robin in there answering people's questions, just giving valuable advice because you get every scale of person in there, from an absolute beginner right up to people who run agencies and who flip big websites. So it's quite a broad spectrum of people, I feel, in that group, and it's just good to see somebody in there adding value, being genuine. So yeah, look, I thought you'd be a good guest for the podcast, Robin.
Cool. Thank you for having me again. And I look forward to sharing some knowledge if I have, if I can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So look, why don't you give us a bit of an intro to yourself and, tell us about what it is that you do?
Sure. So I started, my name is Robin and I'm from Sweden, and I've been doing like online work since about 2015 or so. And I started out doing Fiverr, the freelancing website where you can pay like $5 for a gig. And I started doing translation from Swedish to English or English to Swedish. And it was the first time that I did an online, like something online that actually made any money. So that was my, I don't know, you could say the first time I actually understood that, okay, there's money to be made if you're willing to work for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fiverr.com, for those of you who don't know, is like a services marketplace where you can, you used to be able to get people to pay, you paid them a $5 and they did something for you, like when Robin was on there. But I feel like Fiverr has changed and evolved a lot more, and it's rare that you would pay a $5 for anything on there these days. It's just appropriately named. But I mean, I use Fiverr all the time, the graphics for the podcast, the intro for the podcast. Often if I want somebody to scrape data or something like that, I tend to go to Fiverr over Upwork. I feel like the reviews there seem to hold people accountable far more than, on Upwork, people can have good reviews but still deliver very poor work, in my experience. So, we're on Fiverr. It's a bit more, like if people have good reviews, they tend to be really good and they have this big timer on delivering their projects, and, they have to really explain themselves if they're going over. So I feel that as somebody, when you're hiring, it's a better experience overall these days anyway. So sweet. So look, you got started off by basically transcribing and translating on Fiverr. So where did you progress from there? Because that's a service-based business. What was the next thing that you did?
Yeah, so I after I did the freelancing stuff, like when you do freelancing for $5, I translate about 100 words for each $5. And there needs to be, comes a time when you look for, how can I scale this, or how can I make more money with the time that I have, or, selling a product or something like that. So I started searching or Googling for things like passive income online, making money online, and how to build a business online. And I stumbled upon the blog. You probably heard it. It's Smart Passive Income. Smart Passive Income.
Yeah, Mr. Pat Flynn, where everybody cuts their teeth. The first
Yeah,
person you meet.
exactly.
He's like the gatekeeper.
Yeah, exactly. Right. He's like the door. He's the man in the door when you go into online business. He's the first person you meet. So, and it's actually a perfect place to go if you're a complete beginner. He has an outstanding podcast that I listened to, about like 150 episodes. Took a lot of notes, and then I tried a lot of things that he did. Like email marketing, building, like trying to build communities, trying to build subscribers to different products, stuff like that, and I eventually ended up with like affiliate marketing, which I found was my cup of tea, and yeah, then I built a couple of sites which all failed, and in 2016, I think it was, they released the authority hacker course. I don't know what the name is, the TAS.
Yeah, the authority site system, I believe,
Oh
isn't it?
yeah, thank you,
Yeah. So,
thank you.
um, yeah, and I guess for anybody listening, if it's your first time to hear about them, it's not about hacking websites. It's about, it's very in depth about how to build an authority website. So, I guess just a quick synapse of that would be like, an example could be a website that, so let's say you did a vegan protein website and you just did you wrote tons of articles based on keyword research about vegan protein, benefits of vegan protein, best BCAA protein for vegans, all this sort of content. And you link out to there to another website where they would complete the purchase. So you don't need to deal with customer service. You don't need to deal with fulfilling the products. You're an affiliate. So you're the person that they hit when they Google search, and then you link out to the place where they would purchase the product. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people do it for Amazon when they start out, but as you progress, you probably move away from being an affiliate for Amazon. I personally am quite annoyed with Amazon this year because I don't know, they did a bunch of changes and they keep reducing the affiliate commission, and it's a tiny cookie period. It's only 24 hours. So a lot of people start off by building authority websites and sending traffic then to Amazon. But I guess as you evolve and progress, you might look for alternatives. What's been your experience, Robin?
So yeah, so I mean, you could say that if you would call it like an Amazon affiliate site, I've heard the term a lot online, and I don't think it's wrong, but I think it's not inherently a good business model. If you only build your website and you rely on Amazon for commissions solely, you need some sort of income stream that comes from other places. Diversify your income.
Absolutely. And I guess that's where both of us are kind of similar in that we've offered services, digital marketing services, because we're involved in it, be that web design, SEO, things like that. I personally I've offered services to then pay for my affiliate marketing quests, if you will, because there's a lot of money, there's a lot of cost. You've got tools, you've got freelancers, you've got content, you've got web design, you've got graphics, like you can't do everything yourself. And SEO, outreach, link building, there's so many components, I guess. And yes, you can do it by yourself if you just focus on one site and give yourself 18 months, 2 years and really dig into it. But I guess just for myself, I try to do multiple things at once, and I want to just push them all out and see which works. So is that why you offered the services? Because you had these skills and you also wanted to scale your affiliate marketing business?
Yeah, basically. I mean, so the first thing that I did, like if we go back a bit in time, the first thing that I did for real was like building a website. And when I did, I knew nothing. Like I almost hardly knew WordPress. And I made this site. Today you can build like a site with Elementor, Divi, Astra, all these kind of page builders. And it was like a couple of years ago, and page builders hadn't been, finding their way to the market yet. And I think I started, trying to learn, or I learned HTML and CSS, so I could build the landing pages, with code and, short code stuff. It was a mess. It was a headache, and this was actually in wearable tech, like smartwatches, stuff like that. And this was when wearable tech just got like the trend started to come. So the niche was really good. I was in accordance with the niche, and I had a lot of good keywords and all that, but I didn't know how to build a site. And I think that was looking back, I think it was like an excuse for me, not to really go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's a lot easier now. But back, like you're
It
saying,
is.
back, even when I got started around 2012, I mean, there wasn't really as many page builders. And nowadays, all you need is Elementor and Astra theme, or Elementor even came out with their own, excuse me, their own theme recently to help. These are drag and drop page builders for anybody listening. Like anybody can build a website nowadays that looks good, super easy, and you can just Google, there's marketplaces where you can just buy templates and plug and play, like it's a lot easier now than it was then. But cool. So when you did the wearable tech, you got into it, what happened with that website? Did it work out for you, or did you, did it not? I appreciate your honesty, because it's important for people to hear that, not every project works out. I have a I have a bucket full of projects that didn't work out there behind me, but it doesn't mean that I'm not good at what I do or anything. It just means that wasn't the right thing, and you learn and you move on to the next project.
Yeah. No, so the plan for the wearable tech site was to, I looked up a lot of keywords. And basically what I used Longtail Pro. It's a key, back then it was it's a keyword research tool that like they scale the difficulty to rank for that keyword on their own. So they have like their own algorithm to scale the keyword's difficulty from 0 to 100, with 100 being the most difficult. So I looked for keywords that had a fairly low keyword difficulty, but still had like a search volume of around 100 or above. So I had a lot of keywords, a lot of search queries that people were looking for. And I wrote a lot of articles. So I built like a hub. Let's say that I built a hub article, which was like the best wearable tech for runners. And then I had like a huge buying guide, which is basically what you do today, a huge buying guide for all that kind of wearable tech for the runners. And then I did like individual reviews of each product that goes into that hub. And then I built like a silo. So I built a silo without even knowing it myself. And so the site structure and everything like that was fairly good. What failed me was that first of all, I never built any links to it. So I kind of like, 6 months into it, I had some traffic, but I think that I was impatient and I expected it to be quicker. And so I kind of bailed on it, and I didn't do any work for it. And then it just failed.
Yeah. And look, for anybody who is listening, who wants to build authority sites, and I mean, even I'm guilty of exactly what you're talking about, because content is something you can do today and you can put it up there, like, whereas the building links is a little bit trickier and it's more difficult and it can be boring and time consuming. And if you don't have systems in place to do it, it's hard, like at the beginning, it's a little bit hard, let's not lie and sugarcoat it. It's a lot of email and outreach, getting rejected, people saying, oh yeah, it's £100 for a link on our website. It's a lot of that, and it's about navigating through that and trying to build systems and even a little mini team or the right people to outsource to, if possible, to help with some of these steps. Like maybe somebody does some of the research for you and somebody else does a bit of the outreach for you. And I mean, I've personally found that that's the only way to do that at scale,
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
And so look, so building links was essentially the core thing there that needed to happen. And I guess it didn't. So did you leave that project off and move on to something else then?
Yeah, I did. So I actually bought a site it's called Human Proof Design, I think. I don't remember the guy who's running it, but it's actually a good product. You buy these kind of finished sites. So it's like you buy into a niche. So they have a niche for you, and they do the research, and then you pay them like, I don't know, $300, I think it was, and then you get the site with with a main page, and you have like a couple of reviews on it. Everything's done for you, and then you just kind of get like a list of keywords, and then you can build on that later.
Oh, okay. So they kind of give you like they've done a lot of the work up front, if you will, like put together a bit of a site, bit of a structure, a few articles, a couple of plugins, and you just take it over from there and do your thing with it, is it?
Pretty much, yeah. So I mean, it's the service is good, and you get what you pay for. So It's like $300. I mean, for those who doesn't know the price range of a website. So if I sell a website through my agency and it's just a framework, it doesn't have any content on it. It's just like the pages, about pages, and the design and everything like that. They can usually go for around $3,000 to $4,000 if it's just a framework. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. And if you're running an agency, you need to be in those sort of price ranges to make it viable, Absolutely. So look, let's kind of switch the topic there, like into the agency, because I know a lot of people listening are freelancers and agency owners. So, can we just talk a little bit about your agency? And I know you're going to undergo a rebrand, but at the minute it's called Fyrefly Studio, but that's Fyrefly.se. So you're based in Sweden. So I imagine you serve Swedish clients predominantly, is it? So.
Yeah, that's what we do. So we have a couple of clients in UK actually, and some in Germany. But we deal with those clients on a mail or chat basis. We don't deal with them on the website itself because the website is in Swedish.
And so this is a relatively new agency in terms of you've been up and running just under a year. Did you say with a friend of yours or a partner?
Yeah, so one of my best friends from when we were kids, he's a web developer and an excellent guy when it comes to tech and IT and all that kind of stuff. And I know how to build websites, obviously, but I don't know it as well as he do. Or as well as he does. And I'm focusing more on the sale kind of things.
Perfect. And it's a beautiful website. It's the first thing I noticed. It loaded in about half a second flat. So he's clearly good at what he does. Because it was and it's in Sweden, so there's no way I have any cash of that happening, But no, it's a beautiful website. And so in terms of getting sales and getting clients, what is it that you do to grow the business?
Okay, so we've been up and running since November last year in 2018. So we are still trying to, figure out the ways what works best. But so let me just explain to you how when a client comes in, how that works, or when a lead comes in. So I'm the sales guy, right? So I sell. So I try to sell, and I get the lead, and when I get the lead, I build a project around it. Like, what are the expectations with the client? What metrics will they evaluate us on? And what do they really want? Like, if they say, hey, we want to redesign of our website. Okay, what does that mean? Like, do you only want us to redesign the website, or what do you want? Like, why would you want to redesign your website? So when we have all those kind of things in a package, we sign a deal. They pay us either a deposit or everything up front. And then I deliver that project to my partner, who is going to take care of all the technical details and the actual development.
Perfect. And is he the person who will be in contact with the client during the project, or do you have somebody else in the middle communicating with the actual clients and the developer?
Well, a little bit of both. It depends on the query from the client, but usually he deals with the technical stuff, and I deal with more the time aspect of the project.
No worries. And have you found, so when you're talking about getting leads, what is it that you do? Do you run Facebook ads? Do you go to BNI meetings? Like, what's been, what's worked for you?
Yeah, so we do a little bit of everything. So, which is not something that I recommend going on the long term, but because you need to focus on the things that works. But to find out what works, you need to try a lot of things, if that makes sense. So the first thing that I did actually was to go on a meetup. There is an app called it's actually called Meetup. They have a lot of business meetups, and people meeting up with people with different interests meeting up at a certain location at a certain time. So I've been to a lot of business meetups, a lot of niche meetups, and meeting a lot of people. Just trying to be a friendly guy, not really selling them anything. Just I talked to a guy who was running a business consultancy, and he was just starting out, and he was building a website, and we talked about it, and I said, hey, have you tried doing this? I gave him some tips, and he was like, yeah, I don't know how to do it. And I told him that I can do it for you. and we can have a chat and we can look at it. I didn't sell him anything. I didn't say like, hey, this is what you have to pay, or this is, I run a business, or blah blah blah. I just told him that, hey, if you want to, we can take a look at it together.
Yeah, absolutely. You're offering value up front.
Yeah, so he's like, yeah, sure. And we looked at it, and then he asked me like, hey, do you do this yourself? And I'm like, yeah, I run an agency. If we want to, we can set up a deal and I can do this for you. So and then you just ask him for, basically you ask him for the money, not upfront, but as soon as you have a deal, you ask him to pay, because you want to get paid as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And having experience running my own agency and building web projects for years now, I find that one of the pricing structure of building websites is always a bit of a funny one. How much do you take up front? Like sometimes if you take 50% up front, 50 on the delivery, that delivery payment can be quite a few weeks over, waiting when the website's finished. So how do you navigate that side of it?
So usually we try to take 50% up front. Because if they have a deposit, it means that they have stake in the game other than their time. And well, I mean, every client is different. So I try to not kind of systematize it. I try to be more like, this is a person that I'm talking to, and how would they want this to work out? So if they tell me like, hey, I can't pay you now because we have a policy in my company and we only pay every 30 days or whatever, I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, we can work that out, But
absolutely, and bigger companies tend to operate like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a small player, so it's just like, I gotta do what they say, but I'm trying to get paid up front. That's usually what I.
Absolutely. In episode 2 with Jonathan from SEObutler.com, we had a good chat about this, where he was talking about kind of that transition from serving, let's say, smaller local businesses to these bigger corporate clients, and where, it can ruin an agency if you don't have the cash flow in place. Like if you're delivering on a big SEO campaign and you're not going to get paid for 60, 90 days, and you still need to pay, all your team and all your staff, and you need to deliver on that SEO. So you might be a couple of thousand in the hole before you actually get your invoice paid from that large company. But that's how they work, essentially. Like they don't override their financial payment structure for you, the agency delivering on the SEO. Like you have to be in a position, and this can cripple people, because if you've got 2 or 3 projects on, and you've got to pay all your team to do all their work, you can find yourself in trouble quickly, essentially, if tax comes around or something like that, if all your ducks aren't in a row. So this is definitely something that's come up before with regards to working with larger clients, and just you got to be good with managing your cash flow as an agency, so you don't find yourself in those situations.
For sure. I mean, it's like we are not really that cost intense. So if we don't, like, if I wouldn't sell anything for 30 days, just let's say, it doesn't mean that we are on our knees, but we would still we still have costs every month, so we would feel it.
Of course. And can we just talk a little bit to, scaling the team and working with freelancers? Like how does that look for you? Do you have, do you work with freelancers from all over the world? Where did you find them?
Sure. So depends on what business we're looking at. So if we're looking at my websites, my own company, where it was just me and building authority sites, then I work with freelancers from either it's called iWriter, Text Broker, for writing content, and then Upwork and Fiverr for design things, design elements, text, stuff like that, or like content in general. But nowadays, when I work with my business partner, I can kind of sell, or buy services from him, that are more development.
Oh, that's fair enough. So, and then he would tackle on the agency side, like he would manage those projects, whereas your own authority sites and projects like that, you would more, you kind of outsource that sort of content. Is that it? Awesome. And then with regards to the SEO, so who or how do you manage that? Is it yourself who gets involved in it, or do you work with freelancers? How does that work?
No, it's basically me 100%. Because I've been doing the SEO thing for websites since 2015 or so. Mind you, starting out, I was bad. I didn't know anything. But as you try things, I think that's a general thing with SEO. Like to really learn how to do it properly, you have to actually trial. You have to trial and error. It's like you can't read it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't, yeah, reading about it won't do anything because it changes all the time. I mean, I'm only working online, like, I don't know how many years, 7, 8 years. And I mean, it's changed massively even in that time. When I very, very, very first started, I remember having a niche website after reading Niche Pursuits about laptop backpacks. And I built this Amazon affiliate site about laptop backpacks, and I loaded up. It was called GSA Search Engine Ranker, which was this link blasting tool, like the most black hat of black hat stuff you can do. And I had a article spinner, and I can't even remember this other thing, magic something or other. And basically, like, these things just go out and scrape the internet and comment on blogs, and like the crack is, it worked, like it ranked this website, and I started making Amazon affiliate commissions. And then one day Google comes along and goes, update, boom, in the hole. And you're like, oh, okay, so that's not the way to do it. But I learned a lot by going through the process, and then slowly but surely I leaned more towards what we'll call white hat, white hat SEO. I mean, look, it's hard to say, because at the end of the day, acquiring links under any circumstances, technically, according to Google's terms of service, is not what you're meant to do. So even white hat is grey in Google's eyes. But, I'm a big advocate for, like, who's the Google police, like, no, you're just doing what, if they don't tell you what's okay, then you just go out there and do what you think is okay based on the information that's out there at that time. And if you're trying to build long-term assets, of course, you'll do, less aggressive, but more real, if you will, link building processes,
Yeah, I mean, I try to think, like, if I say that we're talking about content, and if everybody says, like, hey, you've got to write quality content, and content is king and stuff like that. And I think that's a subject matter, it's like, it's subjectively, it depends on who you're asking.
True.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what is quality content? So what I think is quality content is, like, if I was a customer, I try to think about the customer first. So if I was going to this blog and I was reading this article, would I find it, not being the one who wrote it, would I trust this? Would this be something that I would call quality? And if the answer is not immediately yes, then it's not,
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess websites, like you're saying, probably due to this evolution of better page builders, better teams over the last 7 years, websites are more dynamic now, and people expect them to be easier and have these tables of contents and these tables. And, people come to expect that sort of stuff from, these review style websites and stuff. It's not like it was before with just ugly, just HTML and text links, it's evolved, I guess, and people want more dynamic content, and because more and more websites are becoming more dynamic, they become used to it,
I agree.
That's kind of how it works. Same as Amazon conditions you for next day delivery.
Oh, yeah.
And then a normal e-commerce store, struggles with, the costs involved. So, look, this is awesome. This has been some good insight. So in terms of mentorship and courses, I know we've discussed the authority site system. Did you pay for any other mentorship or coaching or courses along the way?
Yeah, I have. Like, I bought a lot of courses for how to make money online, stuff like that. From I hate to call people scammers, so I won't say they're scammers, but people who are a bit shady, who, like, they're not upfront with what they're selling.
For sure, learn my lessons there too. Probably
shiny object syndrome, and just like being impatient with the process. So it's like you try to cut corners, and then you buy some expensive course, and you're like, man, this is garbage.
Look, and I appreciate it, Robin. I feel like we come from a very similar place, because I've made those mistakes myself. Jumping from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and I finally found that just having that patience in your process, even like you're talking about, if you're building an agency, you're not going to go from 0 to 50K a month next month. It's just those things don't happen. You have to progress towards it and be happy with the wins along the way. And, but always be trying to scale and optimize. And I mean, you hit on, you're a big, before the call, you were talking about how you are big into big data and, analyzing data and optimizing business processes. So I'm sure things like that are probably a bit more natural to you, I guess.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, but like if I was okay, so one thing that to give you some sort of value here, if I were starting out today, and if something I wish I knew about, like where to go and not to like spend all your money on different courses and stuff like that. There is a forum, or yeah, it's a forum. It's called the Fastlane Millionaire. I think Fastlane Millionaire Forum. It's run by a guy who's called MJ DeMarco, who has written two books. One is like Fastlane Millionaire, and the other one is Unscripted. I can recommend both books, and the forum is great because it's free, and there are a lot of guys who are both millionaires who have sold businesses and retired with fat bank accounts, and there are noobs running around, and everybody wants to learn, and they share information, and so that's a great place to go. The other place is actually less known, but it's on Reddit. There's a subreddit called Just Start, where people are building like Amazon, well, I hate the term, but Amazon affiliate sites and affiliate sites in general. So it's like kind of like the authority hacker community, but on Reddit. So
perfect. Well, I'll make sure to link to the show notes of that over at digitalnomadcafe.com/podcast. You'll find the episode here. It'll be episode 20 with Robin. Look, honestly, Reddit never would have thought to go looking on there, but people who love Reddit love it.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great place. It's kind of the atmosphere can be a bit harsh, but you gotta.
Yeah, the thing comes to mind, roast me, where people just go in and abuse people. I've seen that on the homepage a few times where it's like people, like they hold up this picture that says roast me and their comments are ridiculous, but you'll always get a laugh out of it, It's definitely funny. But no, look, thank you for that value. So, for anybody listening, this is where you go to interact and to hopefully find answers to your questions. And as we've mentioned, these are free resources. You don't need to pay anybody. You don't need to go online. And that's important because look, people can jump from course to course to course. I personally have decided that the Authority Site System and Authority Hacker is the only course I'm doing right now in terms of like for learning about online, how to build a website online, how to flip a website around my SEO. I'm narrowed in. I'm focused. I'm not doing anybody else's course. I don't care who else is trying to sell me on authority sites. Yes, you'll use other resources for, like maybe you'll end up on Backlinko with regards to the skyscraper, link building technique, or you'll use other places as a resource. But as far as a course goes, I'm just following that. And because there's no shiny object, there's no going doing drop shipping tomorrow, or like it's just narrowing and focus on this thing. And then for an agency or scaling a service business or an agency, that wouldn't be the course for that. And if I was to do that, I would look for a different mentor. In terms of growing your agency business, do you have mentor resources for that, or is it just kind of from your own experience?
No, not really. Not online. I have a couple of people, who I know in real life, who I can call and talk to. But I mean, in general, I think that people have to ask themselves, if you're a beginner, you have to ask yourself, why am I buying this course? What is the reason? Like, why can't I do this without the course? Because that's what I found. Like, usually I buy it because I'm scared, or I have limiting beliefs, or I'm afraid of something. I don't really want to start this. I just want, it feels good to buy something and then just hey, I'll do this someday, But I think that if you take a step back and think about, why am I spending this money on a course from someone I hardly know, and I don't even know if it's gonna help me. Usually you can do it all yourself by YouTube or Googling and just looking around. I mean,
that's it. And listening to podcasts.
Yeah. Well,
where I interview people who've done it already. So, but that's part of it, there's nothing for sale here. I ain't selling anybody anything. Yes, I might link out to a couple of affiliate partners, but this is about, because I'm passionate about this. I really am. And I really embrace remote work and, just the ability to work remote is huge now, you know, like, and 5 years ago it wasn't, whereas now it's normalized. You know, you there sitting in Sweden can have clients all over the world helping them with their, you know, web design and SEO, and it's just brilliant to see all this, you know. Awesome. So look, if you were back at square one, started, no clients, no sales, you know, but you were super interested in starting to run an online business, you know, what would you do in that situation?
Probably look to start my own website, because that's an asset that you own. You own the domain, and you have the hosting and everything like that. You own the content, so nobody can take that away from you. And then you can monetize it by different sources, your own products or whatever. But I would build my own website, and I would probably look at the sources that I mentioned, like the Just Start subreddit, the Fastlane forum, and then there's another forum called Builder Society, which is pretty good. Look to those forums, you know, just do the reading, and then join a lot of Facebook groups where people build websites, and try to learn as much as possible. Actually, Google has a lot of good courses on Google Academy and Google Garage for, like, you know, digital marketing and businesses online. I would probably look at a couple of those, and you know, then it's just about, you know, what do I want to sell? If I want to sell a service, then it's just about, you know, going out finding people, and you find people by you know, going out in the world. That sounds lame, but it's true. You know, you call people, and you look at, you know, LinkedIn. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn. You know, hook them up, talk to them. You know,
absolutely. I guess what we're saying here, and what we have to remember is, you know, it's a process. You know, there's no out the gate tomorrow with something that's going to replace, you know, a good paying job, or, you know, even an entry level job. You have to put in the work, you have to build relationships, you have to learn, constantly be learning. You know, you got to be willing to constantly learn new skills. You know, the market changes in online marketing. There's often, you know, just new skills to be learned to keep on top of things. So Robin, absolutely appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. So where can people find you on the web?
So, so the best way to reach me is through Fyrefly.se. There's a contact form. You can just contact me there, or you can hook me up on my Instagram. It's RWIMAN is the handle, and that's usually where I respond. You can email me if you want to, and the email is on the Fyrefly.se site. So.
Deadly. I'll make sure to link to this, or link to those resources from everywhere that we've mentioned. Robin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for taking the time. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Thanks.
No worries. Thank you. And thanks to all the listeners.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast. Head over to the website to access the resources and links mentioned in today's episode at digitalnomadcafe.com.